Oh my goodness, I think we finally done it. I'm at the base of Raymondskill Falls in the winter. This is my third try at this over the past couple of years. The first try, I didn't have the right equipment to get across the Raymondskill Creek. And then the past couple of years, it's been closed due to the pandemic. It used to be very crowded here in the summer, so they closed the whole area off. But now it's deep in the heart of January. It's a Friday morning. It's been a very long, prolonged cold spell. And the river is completely frozen over. So hopefully I'm at a spot where it has to be. It's so thick here. I just don't want to fall through, so I'm going to try to keep my distance a bit. But these falls are amazing right now, especially the small one. I don't know if the GoPro will do it justice, but here is the main Raymondskill Falls. That's probably about 40 feet to give you some scale there. From the base here to the top here, let's call it 35 feet, something like that. But these, the minor falls, just look exquisite. So much of that icicle flow looks wonderful. Let me try to get a little bit closer. Let's pause here a moment. I just wanted to show what the falls and the area looks like when it's not frozen over. Here, the creek itself is in a pretty decent flow. This was really what I was expecting to have to wade across, but luckily the ice was extremely thick and it was very easy to cross. And then when you get into the basin, and this is admittedly a much higher flow than I was there for today, and you're looking down on the area where I was standing. The falls right in the center of frame are those beautiful side ones, and to the right is Lower Raymondskill. So the flow can be extreme down there. And then finally, here is what the area looks like in the summer. This, I believe, was in August, and I don't want to call it a drought, but this is a very low flow for Raymondskill Falls. I know I sound like a broken record, but composition will be everything here. The main falls themselves, I don't see a shot. They're right behind me. It's just pretty brown and pretty gross. So that leaves something in this area here. And I have to find a way to incorporate some foreground element. I feel like it's been a month since I took a picture with the foreground, so I have to do better than that. So maybe something incorporating these two. I don't want to get too close to that edge is the problem. light snow is falling now, it's really just adding to the atmosphere of enjoyment as opposed to, you know, enhancing a photo. But I have this place to myself, and I'm in absolutely no desire to leave. There are a few footprints on the ground, which I'll have to do something about in post. I'm trying to shoot around them, but it looks like one person may have been here over the past couple of weeks and kind of tramped around the area, which is understandable. What are you gonna do? Yeah, so I took a couple of wide angle shots, and now I want to try to really, the ice formation right in front of me, yeah, it's really nice. So I want to try to get some close-ups. There's this one section of ice that I'm looking at now that has so much character. I'm just trying to think of a composition that might include part of the flow of the stream, just to blur that a little bit. It's really something else. I'm struggling a bit with scale. I know as the shots are composed now, you're not going to be able to tell how tall each of these waterfalls is, which is a shame. But there's nothing to put in the frame that would help. Anyway, that's a minor problem. Well, I'm finding I just don't want to leave. This has been an absolutely wonderful morning. I think I'm more excited about the video footage than any landscape shot I managed to take. But in some ways that's better, because this place, I don't think one shot could do it justice. Perhaps after several inches of snow, where you can get something wide from the entire basin area. But even then, the falls would look so small in the background. I'm not sure a one shot would do it justice. This has been a great experience. I had even purchased waders to try to get across the Raymondskill Creek, because in years past, it was too wet and I didn't have boots to cross. And then actually I was watching a southbound Appalachian Trail YouTuber who's going, you know, southbound in the winter. And of course he has to do, you know, dozens or scores of river crossings. And it struck me like, why am I so stupid? Of course I could figure out how to cross a creek in the winter. So I bought waders, which was, yeah, probably 3 years old now. So how did I do photography-wise? Let's start with the bad news. The bad news is I dismissed the main falls that you're seeing here as something that would not be interesting. And obviously, looking at that footage right now, there's definitely something to be taken from the main falls. They, especially on the GoPro, which just has more contrasty footage that you just saw, they looked exquisite in the GoPro. So that was a fail on my part, that I didn't take a moment to try and photograph Raymondskill Main Falls itself. As for what I did shoot, I also had a problem, as I suspected, with the wide-angle shots of the broad area. The falls, to me, just look too small, and I really think they probably need somebody in the frame to give it scale. So on this first shot, I'm happy with the technique. I'm generally satisfied with the foreground, although it's not perfect by any means, as you can see. But the falls in the background just look small, and you can't really tell how vast and wondrous this basin is. The second shot is similar. I like the composition better. I definitely like the stream coming in to the bottom of the screen. It kind of leads the eye to center and to the right. And those falls do seem a little bit bigger in scale, directly ahead in the center of the top frame. But Raymondskill on the right doesn't look great. I wish I had captured something where both of these falls were in clear view. The Raymondskill on the right just looks like a pile of ice, and there's very little detail to be had in it. But if you look at the falls to the center, you can pick out individual icicles, and that looks pretty cool. So I'm somewhat satisfied with this shot, but obviously it leaves much to be desired. The next few shots are starting to improve, and these are all, smaller scale close-ups of some of the ice formations. And I think I took a heavy hand with the editing, but it just felt right in post to make this more punchy and more almost, I hate the word cinematic, everyone uses it on YouTube, but I could see this being like in a movie or something, and that just drew me to it. So this shot I really love. I love the blue tones of this. I love the snow flaked capped ice formations, but I blew out the highlights on some of the areas on the right hand side, and that black gaping hole in the right third draws the eye a little bit too much. So this is flawed, but I do enjoy it. The next shot, I really like this shot, and I wish, I'm sure you picked up on it right away, I blew out the highlights right in the center of frame. Only a few of those white capped icicles are blown out, but once you notice it, you cannot unsee it, and it's killing me. Because the icicle formation right above them is truly exquisite. I love the curves and the ridges and the frosted look of that icicle, and that's really what I wanted to capture. And this was the only shot I took that is in focus, and of course I blew out the highlight. So this is a significant disappointment for me, not to be able to come away with something of that specific ice formation. For this one, I really love the depth you can see through these ice formations, especially on the right-hand side, where you can see the frozen tendril sticking out of each one of the icicles. Then, of course, you can see some of that on the left as well. The main issue here is the focal point, the center, isn't as interesting as the side. Next is a zoomed out section of what you just saw. And I was hoping the left-hand side had the same type of character as the right-hand side, and it simply doesn't. The right-hand side shows all the interest, to me at least, and the left-hand side, while still nice to look at, doesn't have that same level of interest to me, and it makes the shot unbalanced. And the third shot in this grouping I really like, but it also has a flaw that I want to talk about. So this is a lower section of the icicles as they approach the base of the falls. The icicles themselves look great. I love the blue tones, especially coming through on the left-hand side. I like how they interact with the rock formations on the bottom. I like on the right-hand side how there's a hint of, it's not really a cave, but it looks like an ice cave, and you can crawl back there. But on the bottom right, there's some of that brown water, and I tried my best in Darktable to try to remove that brown hue. I don't know how to make things look whiter in Darktable. I can change the color of anything I want, but I can't change it to white. So that's something I'll have to work on. Otherwise, I really like this photo a lot. These next two shots are definitely my favorite. The first one here I love because you can pick out details in almost every section of the picture, from the individual icicles on the left to that favorite center point that I have with those frost-colored icicles, to the bottom left where those little mounds are forming that have their own little frost on it, and even to the right where you have this black line going down the right-hand side of the frame from a rivulet coming down from the top of the cliff. The only issue I have is the upper right-hand section is very dark. And I just have to live with that because I really wanted the black line in the bottom of the frame. In order to get that, I had to keep the right-hand section of the photo here. So yeah, I adore this photo. It's one of my favorites of the past couple of years. It's something I wish I had a medium format camera for, to really, really look at those individual icicles and all the detail that can be seen. This last photo is of the same general area as the one we just saw, but think of it as the lower section, and I probably pivoted the camera maybe 15 feet to the right. So you can see many individual icicles on the left-hand side of the frame, with things going in mainly a vertical type of orientation. And on the right-hand side of the screen, for whatever reason, the falls weren't as vertical, but they formed these individual ball-like features, which I really liked and wanted to capture in the frame. And then I think what anchors the two sides together is that black line rivulet that we spoke about before, that is really in the right on that right third of frame. And there's some really cool structures within that area as well. So overall, I was disappointed in myself for lack of creativity with Raymondskill Falls, but I really am happy and satisfied with the shots I took on the side falls, especially the last two. And that'll do it for this video. Looking at myself in the back, I look so small compared to those falls, and it's really how I felt when I was standing there looking up at these immense ice formations really to all sides of me. Raymondskill Falls, the base of Raymondskill Falls in this frozen winter wonderland, was something that I will truly never forget. If you do go here yourself, please be very cautious as the temperature changes. I definitely would be worried about falling through the basin area. The ice here was, probably 18 inches thick in spots. So I felt very secure. I don't think it would always be that way. Thank you so very much for watching. Raymondskill Falls, at least the base of Raymondskill Falls, has exceeded my expectations for today. What a wonderful morning. Thank you so much for watching, and get out and explore.